Mic check. What's up? The floor is very loud when people were upstairs. I guess the main question is like, do I look 55 years old? No offense to 55-year-olds. All right, we ready? This thing I'm sitting on is very uncomfortable. What's up? My name's Logan Marks. I am the owner and head custodian here at Deep Creek Apparel. The thing that pushed me to do this now, get this done today, is if you're watching this right now, happy 2025. And the reason 2025 has any type of significance is because this year is our 10-year anniversary. So it's been 10 years of Deep Creek Apparel, and how we got to where we are today it's been an interesting journey for sure. For it to make sense of how this ended up, what it is today, kind of have to go back a ways. Photo, video, that was my life. I carried cameras around my whole childhood. That was my favorite thing. And I'm old, so I used camcorders with actual tapes in them. And used to make edits with like 2 VCRs and an Xbox plugged in for the audio. It was a quite the setup. And you know, when you grow up, people tell you don't do that. It's not a real job. You don't make any money doing that. And so I got a job with the government right out of college. I have a degree in economics, and about a year and a half into that, I lost that job and decided that I was never gonna work that hard for someone else to look good just to get called into an office and said, you know, sorry, you don't work here anymore. And that's how I started my first business, which was Marks Media, which is honestly probably how a lot of people know me at Deep Creek Lake. I was a YouTube guy. I was the wake surf guy. I was just like the Deep Creek Lake guy because my videos on YouTube were, you know, some of the top ones if you typed Deep Creek Lake in. We used to do these things called summer edits. And, you know, I mean, between the 5 that we did, 5 or 6, there's probably 100 or 200,000 views on them. And a lot of people have seen them. A lot of people still bring them up when they come in the shop. But yeah, so Marks Media went from social media analytics to content creation. So commercial, photo, and video. And that was where I focused. And, you know, about a year and a half into that, started picking up big jobs and then started kind of just traveling all over, shooting photo and video for businesses. And I met a ton of cool people. And one of the people that I met was actually here at Deep Creek, Michelle. Michelle owned what was, at the time, the biggest custom apparel business in our region. And I met her because she made t-shirts for Marks Media, and we got talking, you know, and she wanted new photos on her website refreshed, video, that kind of stuff. So I ended up helping her do that. We became really good friends, and I told her about this idea that I had. I was a server at Uno's here at the lake when I was in college, and people used to always ask, where can we get Deep Creek Lake shirts that are cool? And I was like, nowhere, unless you want something with a bear on it. And I remember telling Michelle, I said, why doesn't somebody do this? So I pitched her this idea and said, why don't we start something like Deep Creek Apparel? Like, why don't we start that? And it just kind of spiraled out of control real quickly. I saw a logo somewhere in Florida that I had kind of drawn on a napkin, sent it to my friend Tyler, who the Deep Creek Apparel logo that you see today was the first iteration of that he sent back. And that's been our logo since. So Michelle and I in 2015 started Deep Creek Apparel with the idea of just a retail brand. Michelle had her store, I had Marks Media. This was a fun side project for both of us. And we quickly kind of found out that it wasn't really a side business, it was more of an expensive hobby. Starting a clothing brand it's one of the hardest things you'll ever do. It's hard to explain how difficult it is to make something a brand. And I know that sounds weird to say it like that, but it was so much harder than I ever thought it would be. So we got some traction. I tried really hard on social media to make it cool and tried to build this community around it, which it slowly started, but it was a very slow burn. 2 years after we started Deep Creek Apparel, Michelle sold her business and moved out of the area and gave me her half of Deep Creek Apparel and just said, do something cool with it, And at that point, Marks Media had gotten even busier, and my wife would even help me print this stuff like in our garage or living room. We would just print a bunch of shirts and sweatshirts, and it was just our logo. That was it. And I'd be up till 3 o'clock in the morning before holiday weekends printing this stuff to get it in High Mountain Sports because I still had an actual full-time job. And I actually got to the point probably like 2019 that I wondered if maybe selling Deep Creek Apparel was a better idea because it was just, I didn't have time for it and it didn't really get the attention that it needed. The media business was great. I traveled, I was all over the place and loved it. I had fun and I loved shooting videos. And then 2020 happened and my world basically flipped upside down. A business that I spent, 6 years, almost 7 years building, basically disintegrated in front of my face because all of the clients started canceling projects we had planned. And I went from, almost half a year of booked projects to none. And my wife is a healthcare provider. She was pregnant with our daughter in early 2020, and it was just a mess. And I stayed home for a couple months, about 2 months, I guess, because March was just like the lockdown when it started. And I'm a bad person to sit alone with nothing but my thoughts. And I came up with the idea. I was like, you know what? Like everybody started talking about outdoor dining, outdoor this, outdoor that. I said to myself, you know what? We can do outdoor. We can make a store on wheels. And I decided that I didn't have anything else to do and that 2020 was going to be the year that I gave Deep Creek Apparel some attention and went for it. So I went and bought a trailer. I got a wrap put on it and built the inside of the trailer as like a little print shop. And this was all before I had anywhere to put it. And everywhere I called at the lake. And hopefully these people are watching because they all told me no. And I was like, oh my God, I just spent all this money doing this and now there's nowhere to park this trailer and try to sell this stuff. And I was on my way home from my parents' house in Morgantown one day, pulled into Slopeside, and straight ahead of me, I'm staring at High Mountain Sports rental building and was like, oh my God, I never called Steve. And that's how the trailer mobile store happened. And it started out as just me. It was Friday, Saturdays, and I slowly went to Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And probably 3 weeks into it, I would pull in sometimes on Saturday mornings, and there would be people parked waiting on me to set up and start selling stuff. And I kind of realized like, maybe this is a better idea than I thought it was. And that was when we hired our first employee, and COVID got crazy again that year around Christmas. So, I worked that summer and then kind of closed back up, went to online. We sold hundreds of things online that year and shipped, which they all got lost that Christmas anyway. That was the year we got our Christmas cards in June. And that following spring was when I called Steve and said, hey, instead of me putting this trailer over there, why don't you just let me lease the building? We'll build a fake wall, I'll make a little store, and I'll have somewhere for the summer. And it's a building that doesn't get used for 8 months of the year. He loved the idea, we went for it. So in the grand scheme of things, I basically started my life over at 30. And that was the year that I hunted and found our very first space, which was the little shop next to Don Nemeth Builders. It was 700 square feet, barely 700 square feet, and it was an office building. It was not supposed to be a retail store. And this is a weird business, and I'm weird, and I've just made stuff work. And so we took doors off hinges and did everything we could and just got every square inch of space out of this little area. And that was when the custom orders really went from like just kind of like a fun thing to like, we had a location. I think people saw that as like okay, we go there and we order stuff for our businesses. And it went from, a couple customers to just out of control. And we were over there for almost 4 years, about 3.5 years. And this January of 24 was when I decided to stop subbing out our embroidery and bring it back in-house. And I bought a small single head machine and quickly realized that that was not going to cut it. And this behemoth right here behind me, we bought in April of this year. And it's just, we bought this with absolutely no plan of where we were going to put it, because we couldn't get this into a 700 square foot shop. And that's how we ended up where we're at now, the 75 Fort Drive location, which has been incredible. It's this quirky hexagon building that it's perfect. It was one of those things that I don't think anybody ever imagined this space like I did as soon as I walked in. And it's just the quirkiness of the retail floor upstairs fits us to a T. And, again, I put a ton of work in up there to make it the way I envision things. And we've went from a trailer printing shirts to what you see here today, with 8 employees and a literal full custom apparel shop. And I think, I don't know the exact number. I've got close with looking through invoices, but this year, between our retail brand and customer orders, we've sent probably about 35,000 pieces of apparel through this little shop this year. And I'm out in public. Just last night, grocery shopping, walking into Walmart, I passed 3 people wearing Deep Creek Apparel sweatshirts and hats. And then I saw a few other people wearing businesses that we had printed. And I was like, it's incredible. From this just crazy brainchild idea that I had to what this is today. It's a brand. We are a brand that people love. And we're also, it's not, people don't just love our brand, they trust us to print theirs. And there's no words for me to articulate that to you guys, to say thank you enough, because without everyone watching this, we wouldn't be what we are today. And I've killed myself over here making this, and I've spent a really tough 4.5 years building what this has become. And I thought starting my entire career over at 30 was horrible, and it's turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me. So here's to 10 years of Deep Creek Apparel, and here's looking forward to hopefully 10 more if I live that long. But that's it. That's the story. And, again, thank every single one of you for either being here on the journey through, whether it was Marks Media or Deep Creek Apparel or both, or whatever it's been, when you come in the shop and say hi. It's been, So anyway, happy 2025, and that's it. 10 years. Let's go.